I'm not at the point yet where I have to worry about mortgages and such because I live with my family, 20 female, but I am at the point where I'm saving money to pay off student loans in the future, and I'm going to need a credit card to make certain purchases. I don't get how we can avoid riba. I understand why it's haram, and I totally agree. It's not like I want to pay interest, but things like student loans, my car payment, insurance, mortgages, these are all parts of life. Without interest, a business can't really even function. How on earth are we supposed to avoid this? Oh, God help me. I'm going to try not to be too harsh because obviously this person is very young. They don't have a huge amount of life experience and they don't really understand how the financial world works. But I'm going to give you an example that I give quite often. As a dental patient, when you turn up to the dentist, you're a member of the general public. You have not been through 5 years of dental school. So when you go to the dentist and you've got a broken down tooth or something, you don't really know what options are available to protect that tooth and elongate the life of that tooth, which is why you're going to the dentist and the dentist is going to educate you, okay? So in the same way, most of the general public, including dentists, they don't really know what financial options are out there, and especially investment options that are non-interest based because you've not been taught these things. So when you're in that position of ignorance, you are going to look to the financial world and you're going to be like this person who thinks that there's no options out there, that you have to get mortgages, you have to use a credit card, that businesses can't function without interest, which is categorically false. Unbelievably false. So I'm going to try to breathe and I'm going to try not to be too harsh to this kind of person because they're saying these things out of forgivable ignorance. They just don't know. And it's my job here to tell you that absolutely you can live life without mortgages, without a credit card, and businesses can actually function without interest. And what we have to do as Muslim investors and members of this horrible interest-based financial system is we first have to educate ourselves. And then second of all, we have to be very careful about where we put our money and the financial decisions that we make. Credit cards. You do not need a credit card, okay? You do not need a brand new car and pay off that brand new car with interest-based installments. There are other options. Buy a used car that's maybe 5 or 10 years old that you've done research on, that you've asked advice from experienced people on how to buy used cars. That's very, very reliable. That's not going to cause you any headaches. Drive it for 5-10 years if you have to, and it'll be absolutely fine. It might not make you look like a rich dentist, but it is going to be fine. It is going to get you from A to B. If you look after it, it will look fine, and you're not going to look poor. And you're not going to have interest-based financial payments to make. On the other hand, you can also lease. You just need to make sure that there is no interest within the monthly payments, and you need to make sure there's no late fees within the contract. Now, most leases are going to have late fees within the contract, but it may be a possibility for you to speak to the lease company and say, listen, if I put down an extra amount on the down payment, can you remove the late fees from the contract? That's very, very possible. In that case, you can drive a brand new car and it will hopefully be interest free and you're not forced to pay interest-based financial payments. And mortgages, I've talked about this at length. You do not need a mortgage. There's so many different options out there. Now, I want to do a whole video on the different ways that you can purchase a house without a mortgage. Some options are obviously you rent, okay? I've talked about this at length. Yes, it's dead money, but the main point is if you really care about not involving yourself in riba and involving yourself in a war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then just rent. Yes, it's going to be dead money. Yes, you'll potentially be paying a little bit more compared to mortgage payments, but you just need to invest aggressively. Invest aggressively as a dentist or a high-income professional. And if you do that, you will be able to build a really powerful investment portfolio within the space of 10 to 15 years, at which point you will be able to buy a house in cash, that will potentially be 20 to 30% of your net worth. It might not be your dream home. It might not be your forever home. But at that point, at least you own your home that is just hopefully big enough for your family. And you can slowly scale it up by buying another house in cash, selling your previous home and doing that, or renovating the home, adding value to the house, and then selling it, buying a bigger home like that. There are many, many different options to buy a home without riba. The other option is you can buy a home in the Middle East. The options and the prices of homes in the Middle East are extremely reasonable. Okay? You can buy a 3-4 bedroom villa, massive, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 square feet in places like Sharjah and Ajman and Oman and many other Middle Eastern countries for around £200,000, which is crazy to think about. Even just renting, you'll be shocked at the prices. In the area where I live, you can get a beautiful, massive apartment and you'll be paying around 100 to 120,000 dirhams per year, which equates to around 20 to 25,000 pounds a year for rental. And it'll be beautiful and spacious in a really nice up-and-coming area where you've got all the amenities that you need. And with regards to businesses needing interest in order to function, that is just categorically false. Most businesses take on massive loans these days because it's a shortcut to the end goal. But within our agency, we give our investors and our clients access to some amazing, fully halal, Muslim-led businesses that do not take out massive loans. And the way that they fund the growth of their businesses and the scaling of their businesses is they take on capital and investment from individuals, retail investors like us, like dentists, and they crowdfund huge projects, buying massive amounts of land, building a property on that land, and then once that property is built, putting the individual units on rent, or whether that's short-term rent or long-term rent, and then sharing the profits every single year of those properties, of those developments with their investors, or they get occupancy for each of those units and then they sell the building onto an institutional investor. And then again, they share the profits with their investors. There's so many models that are completely halal Sharia compliant, no interest involved. And people will think on the surface that these are slower growing businesses. But actually, from the investors and the businesses that we have access to, subhanAllah, we have seen these businesses grow so quickly with zero riba. And what happens in that situation is that there's so much blessing for the profits that the investors get. I am telling you categorically, these are the businesses that you need to prioritize and focus on. I literally just saw a video about Muslims creating halal, Sharia compliant, interest-free versions of Amazon, of Etsy, of Shopify, of Airbnb. Can you imagine having Muslim-owned, Sharia-compliant versions of all of these major companies? This is what we need to support with our money, okay? If you see these businesses up and coming, you need to stop being cheap and you need to prioritize to invest with these kind of Muslim-owned businesses. This is when we are going to see alternatives. When we support these kind of alternatives, then they're going to grow and more options are going to be available in the market for us who do not want anything to do with interest. So when we put our money where our mouth is and we invest into these Muslim-led businesses, then we are going to see more opportunities. The major complaint I hear is that Muslims are not investing into their own communities, into their own people, and that's why we don't have different opportunities and we don't have alternatives to haram mortgages, etc. And even halal mortgages are so expensive and they're not achievable or feasible for most people. When we invest back into our own communities, then the opportunities are going to come and they're going to be a lot more affordable. But we need to put our money where our mouth is and then we will see real change. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. If you want to support our channel completely for free, like the video, comment, ask me a question, something about what I've discussed today, push back, tell me you don't agree, give me a point to respond to, and I will do my best to respond. And obviously subscribe. This is the best way to support us completely for free. And if you are a dentist or you're a high-income professional and you want to maybe consider working with us, all you need to do is click the link in our bio and join one of our live training sessions. And we will hopefully be on a call with you very, very soon to discuss how we can make you work optional. Inshallah ta'ala. I will speak to you soon. Assalamu alaikum.